when you give somebody a what's up head nod, do you usually go down or do you go up? Like, are you like, what's up? Are you like, what's up?
I'm probably more of an up guy. I think I'm like, what's up?
You're more of an up guy.
Yeah, I feel like the nod down is like an understanding nod or like a yes nod.
I probably do more down head nods. I feel like the down head nod is more of an acknowledgement, and the up head nod is more of like, hey, man. Up is friendly, down is acknowledging.
I also don't realize if I do it, and I'm going to try to see if I actually do it from now on.
I would also say that when I do the up versus down head nod movement, the up is a bigger movement. Like, it's going to be a wider range, and the down is more just like, it's a much smaller movement.
I love how anyone out there listening to this is thinking to themselves, do I do like an over exhaustive up or down, or is it slight? That's what I'm wondering. Shout out, Tom.
Yeah.
Leahy Gillespie, Urza Corvus, Ariel Bechamel, Brody Gibbs, Ali Herbert, Christina Roque, Shannon O'Sullivan, Ruben Lavario, Megan Corbett Barrel, William Marquette, Andrea Angelucci, and the one that Nick forgot.
Oh, Jake Kretschmer. I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing that right, but there's a possibility. Shout out to Jake Kretschmer. Left us a nice comment. Appreciate you checking out the show.
Oh, thanks, Jake Kretschmer. Appreciate you.
If I don't see words for a while, I forget like how they're spelled. Like, I looked at his name and it's clearly Jake, but I actually thought in my mind for a little while, like, wait, is that Jack? Like, if you don't see a word for a while, that's what happens, I feel like, as you get older. If there's something that you don't do for a little bit as you get older, you completely like lose the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to really be repetitive with things.
Well, speaking of repetitivity,
Okay.
Gene Hackman, okay? We talked about it last week.
We're back on Gene Hackman, okay.
Well, because I feel like it's one of those things that people want it to be more than it is. And I'm just going to say what it is because we all know what it is. And I feel like somebody in the world needs to say what it is.
Okay.
His wife died of hantavirus. He was so old and senile that he probably didn't know. And then he died of heart disease 10 days later. No one fed the dog, and the dog died. That's what happened.
Yeah, I don't think that, like, that life isn't really, like, it's always the simple answer. I think whatever you're doing, whether that's conspiracy theory type stuff, trying to solve a problem type stuff, whatever it is, it's always the simple answer. It's always the simple answer.
Like, it's, yeah.
Almost. I mean, sometimes it's not, but it's almost always the simple answer.
Let's see. I thought this was just kind of funny because it doesn't really matter, but I do appreciate those that are sticking up and doing this. Okay. But Friday or the Friday before was like blackout day where people were boycotting and dropping subscriptions and blah, blah, blah. Let's be honest, though. None of that truly matters. I hate to say it. You want it to matter, but it doesn't matter.
Way to shoot down that.
Which leads me to this that is actually truly troublesome. As we know, hurricane season and all that kicks up in a couple of months. And the Trump administration apparently is going to be continuing cutting the NOAA workforce. So pretty soon we won't have anyone to monitor the weather and no one to tell us tornadoes, hurricanes. So get ready for that. That's all I had to say about that.
Okay, all right. There's your rant for the day. All right, just bringing that up. All right.
Just don't get it. But whatever. What's scarier to you, living in Hurricane Alley, along a hurricane coast, or in like a wildfire zone?
Oh, I've lived in all of them. So living in Kansas, in Florida, in Arizona, in Washington, I've lived in all of those. And by far, I would say the scariest is an earthquake. Earthquake is the scariest thing because it's the literal ground moving underneath you. And that kind of power is something that nothing else in the world compares to. Like, that reminds you of your place in the world, and it is a very small place. Other than that, I would say probably tornadoes never bothered me that much. But I grew up in Kansas, and tornadoes were a very regular thing, and I've seen them destroy a whole town. But even then, people would still go outside in Kansas when a tornado was coming. Like, you'd go try to look at it. Hurricanes are pretty bad.
Is the movie Twister real?
No, it is not.
I think
it's not. It does sound like a freight train, though. I know that's super cliche, and everybody says, like, it sounds like a freight train, but it really does sound like a huge object coming towards you. Yeah, earthquakes are the scariest. Wildfires is not something to mess with either, though.
I mean, yeah, I think wildfires would be the scariest to me because you can't. I mean, you can't do anything. You can't board up your house, right? You can't go into the basement. If the fire is gonna destroy your entire world, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that. They're all just, I don't think that you can, besides earthquake, you can't, like, put one ahead of the other. Like, I wasn't more afraid of hurricanes than I was of tornadoes or wildfires. They're all just kind of the same in a different way. In the sense that, like, nature is about to do something, and it's going to crush you. So you better just get out of the way.
Let's see what else we got going on here. People seem to love this, though. To me, I've always just been kind of meh on space things, but there's going to be a total lunar eclipse this week.
Oh, okay. I can never keep that straight. Which one? The lunar eclipse is what? Which is the one where the sun? Which is the one where the sun comes between the moon and the Earth?
I'm not. I think this is that one, or the sun.
It's definitely
or the moon
not, dude. If the sun came between the moon and the Earth, we would all be dead.
Or the sun or the moon is going to be completely engulfed in the sun's shadow. I think is what this one is.
I can't keep it straight. I can't keep it straight.
Darkness on the entire world or wherever you're going to be. I thought 10 years ago during the total eclipse that was like once in a generational thing.
What's the complaint? Well, I don't understand why you're complaining about it. Like, whether it's once in a generation or it happens all the time, like, it's still a cool thing. Like, oh, this cool thing's happening.
No complaint.
But they said it wasn't going to happen. Like, people complain about the biggest things, stupidest things to me.
I'm not complaining. I'm just making people aware that it's happening. You're the one with the cognitive behavioral attitude over there. Trying to lash out at me because your father didn't love you enough.
Did you say cognitive behavioral attitude?
I may have called you dumb, but in a smart way. Anyways.
Wait a minute. Did you say cognitive?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I don't even know what that means. Nice. Somebody's been... Are you not reading books about submarines anymore, and now you're reading books about psychology?
I actually have not read any books about... I have read 14 books since the new year, and not one of them has been about submarines, so...
What have you been... You've read 14 books since the new year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had
a goal. That's a lot.
I think I said on one of our end of the year episodes last year, one of my goals was to read more books this year, so...
What's the biggest thing you've learned in those 14 books?
Oh, I mean, I like historical fiction, so I've read a lot of... I mean, I've learned a lot of stories about different things, so...
But it's fiction.
The one thing I learned, the biggest thing I learned in any of those 14 books is that actually making sure to set time aside to read is not that big of a deal as I once thought it was.
Oh, yeah, I think that whatever the thing that you're trying to do is, you just have to make it a habit. And then it's really not that difficult once you make it into a habit. It's getting it to be a habit that's, I think, the really hard part.
Yeah, it's like anything, exercising, running, anything. You just have to do it.
You just gotta do it.
All right, what else do I have here? Man, it was kind of thin, to be honest with you, in terms of stuff this week. I mean, we're not going to even touch the State of the Union or whatever he called it, joint address to Congress.
Yeah, let's just steer clear of all that.
Yeah, we're not getting in on any of that. March Madness coming up. That's exciting. One time where everyone cares about college basketball during the year. But you're going to say I don't care about it, of course.
Oh, I'm always kind of interested in who makes it, but to me, in general, sporting events have kind of just lost so much of their luster lately. Like, I'm just not usually that into sporting events anymore. And the fact that I say sporting events instead of sports is kind of like, oh, wow, okay, that guy doesn't, like, I don't know the language anymore. What's this basketball you're all playing?
Well, this was interesting. It's sports,
Okay.
of course. Apparently, the number 4 sport in terms of participation in this country is pickleball.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun sport, man.
I was
It's
kind of
fun
surprised.
because it's like the perfect combination of activity, inactivity, and socialization.
Yeah, I guess I played it a few times. I feel like I'm always too competitive, so it wasn't that fun.
Mm.
But and then lastly, I wanted to give a shout out to somebody that no one probably cares about except for me. In the RIP section of the show,
Okay,
RIP
okay.
Carl Dean, the late great husband of Dolly Parton,
Oh, Dolly Parton's a national treasure, man.
who they prided themselves on him not ever being a part of the, her, I don't know what you want to call it, legend status. Like, he rarely went to events with her. He ran his own business. So good for him. I think they were married for or together for 60 something years. So
That's insane, man. To just like you and I are both married, but imagine being with somebody for 6 years and then one day, or 60 years, and then one day you wake up and they're not there. That getting
well,
old is tough, man.
well,
That's
and
so hard.
especially being with, like, and let's not sugarcoat it. You're with this Dolly Parton, who was a sex symbol for most of her, or is still a sex symbol for
I
her
mean,
her
she's
career.
80, bro. Like,
Yeah, but
I
you
know
know,
what you mean, but like, if somebody's still out there, like, oh, Dolly,
I'm
yeah,
dude. I'm not gonna lie.
like,
She said a quote that I'll never forget. Someone was asking her like how she looked 30, and she was like 65, and she's like, because I've gotten everything on my body nipped, tucked, or sucked. I was like, good for you.
I think that she's good proof of what can happen to you if you're just kind of a nice and honest person. Like, you don't have
Wow.
to be a celebrity and be terrible. You could just be kind of nice and be honest about things, and people will like you.
Well, I'm sure I'm completely wrong on this, but I can't think offhand of a single time where she was like enveloped in a serious controversy.
No, never really. She's always generally been on the right side of things. Everybody likes Dolly Parton. She's kind of like
Everybody.
Betty White. There's always the older celebrity that everybody likes. I think Betty White had it. Now Dolly Parton has it. I don't know who's going to be next.
Yeah, well, probably not anyone that's younger than 40.
No,
Uh,
probably not.
all right, man.
Oh, you
Let's
ready?
let's start. Let's touch our inner selves here and enlighten the listeners.
Okay, so our top five is top five pieces of our personal life advice. So, in our years on this planet, these are the top five pieces of life advice that John and I have. Life advice from people in their 40s or close to it.
Well, okay. My number 5 is actually something that somebody told me when I was in college that I've tried to mold a lot of my way of thinking around. And I don't think he listens to this podcast. I actually haven't talked to him in 25 years. But his name's Josh Hart, and we were at a party together, and we had just done some shots. He looks over at me, and we're looking back and forth, almost like time had stopped. And he goes, "Just be easy, bro. Just be easy."
Mmm.
So that's my number 5 is just be easy. Take life as it comes. There's going to be a lot of waves, a lot of ups and downs. I'm not going to get too philosophical, but at the end of the day, things usually have a way of working themselves out. So just to be easy. Just to be easy.
This is not my number five, but that reminds me of a quote from The Wire that I always thought was a great quote, which is take it easy, but take it.
That's fair. That's actually a good
Right?
quote.
Like, that's a great way to live your life is take it easy, but take it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My number five is always look for the soft emotion. Like, if somebody's mad at you and you look for the soft emotion in that, I think that you can identify and understand people a lot better. Like, they're not mad at you because you're always going out with your friends. They're mad at you because you're not spending time with them. Like, I think if you look for the soft emotion in your dealings with people, you can understand them a lot better. And I think that your relationship and communication is much better if you do that.
This is going to be one of the more heartfelt top fives we've ever done. I
Oh,
feel.
yeah. This is like deep. This is
Jesus. My number 4 is just understand that it's okay to be selfish sometimes and do something for you.
Oh, that's a good one.
I feel like it gets lost too much, especially like us, where you have a full-time job, other commitments, a family, kids, everything else. You're just living life, and before you know it, you're 60, and you can't do things that you naturally, when like how you were in your 30s. So it's okay to put everything aside for even 10 minutes a day and be like, this is my 10 minutes. Nobody say a word to me. Don't take an email. Don't take phone calls. It's just your time.
My number 4 is listen to older people. I think when you're growing up, you think that older people, like their advice and their insight doesn't apply to you. Like, oh yeah, okay, but that's not how it is anymore. And then the older you get, the more you realize that, oh, older people are kind of right. Like they do have some pretty good life lessons if you're willing to listen to it. Maybe it doesn't apply to you in like a very specific thing, but it applies overall. Like, oh, older people, it's hard to get old. Like they do have some good advice for you.
That's a good one. I have something similar, but not really on the list. My number 3 is the loudest microphone. This is another saying that I was told. The loudest microphone in the room is the first one to run out of battery. And essentially what that is, or what I've always taken that to mean, is just listen. Take in the world around you. Listen. You can engage, obviously, but listen, take everything in, and then talk, then speak. Formulate thoughts. You don't always have to be the person that's just rushing out or saying something. People, think before you talk, but listen. Listen to everything around you, and life might make a little more sense from time to time.
Oh, I've always noticed that the smarter people that I've known in my life, whether they were managers or other just people, they would listen before they said something. They would always be usually the last person to talk.
Well, like you said, that's probably why they're managers or whatever. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is maintenance is important, both with your body, with the things that you own. Like you don't think that you got to really take care of something as much as you need to. And then as you get older, you really realize that, oh, you got to do maintenance. Like you got to get your foundation checked every few years. You got to get the water heater serviced. Like those kind of things you don't think that you have to do when you're younger. You find out as you're older, like, oh, you really need to do maintenance. It's super important.
Surely is. I mean, and I'm not even being funny, but things like the vacuum, cleaning out the air filters, furnace filters, like these are things that you take for granted. But if you don't do it, or forget to do it, they could lead to way bigger issues that cost hundreds, thousands of dollars. So you're absolutely right.
Oh, ounce of prevention, pound of care. Wait. Yeah. I don't remember what that is.
And also that I assume that means like for you as well, right? Like,
Oh yeah, you got to take care of your body, man.
Yeah, you don't want to look like me at 25. This is more or less it's not a saying, but just make sure that in life you ask questions. Don't be afraid to try to understand what you're doing or where you're going or who you're with or why you're friends with these people or what you're doing. Like, ask questions because nobody is going to care about you in the end of the day. You have to care for yourself. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to ask questions. It almost gets back to the selfish comment. Like, you have to be there for you.
Did you get a little teary there for a second?
I did not, but...
Are you sure? You're like...
No, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry on this podcast, but don't be afraid to be a little selfish. Take care of yourself.
My number 2 is stop and think. I think that's really easy to tell people, but like if you actually stop and think about where you are in life and reflect on what's going on, it's actually pretty cool. Like you're doing pretty well. Like you're generally, no matter what your situation is, you're kind of doing pretty well given the things that you've been given. And if you actually kind of just stop and think about things, I think that you can better understand like how awesome life is. Like it's still pretty great to be here.
Which kind of leads me to my number one, which is, life isn't always, life never stands still. Like how the moment is right now that you're feeling could be completely different in 6 hours. Like, so it kind of goes back to my number 5 of being easy. But my number one really is just, we're lucky to be here. We're lucky to be humans. We're lucky to do what we do, blah, blah, blah. Like, you just got to take it with the ebbs and flows. You create your own decisions. You make your own decisions. You create a lot of things. Just know that, you're always going to get back up. Nothing truly ever will keep you down, unless you get hit by a truck, of course, but let's hope that doesn't happen.
It's like my grandpa used to have a saying, like, if everything's okay, it means you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's
pretty accurate.
Or, no, wait. He was like, if everything is okay in your life, you're about to get hit by a bus.
You just got to ride the wave unless you get hit by a Mack truck.
That's kind of like, my number one is just embrace the struggle. Like, even the really bad things and difficult times in life, like, it's still an experience. It's still something that you are doing, and you can kind of embrace that. And I think that it does make life that much more worthy and more enjoyable when you're not in those hard times. But even, like, embracing the suck, I think is a big part of life because you're still experiencing that. It's still awesome to kind of be alive and going through that.
That should be both of our number ones, just embracing the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Honorable mention, Don't Give Up, Never Give Up by the late, great Jimmy Valvano, but I've kept that as kind of a motto. Kind of goes along with just, embrace the suck, really. The other thing is, probably the most practical thing is just be real, be practical about situations, about your life. Like, I feel like it's okay to dream, but you have to dream within reality. I feel that, not to be a Debbie Downer, but like, I'm never going to be able to drive a Formula One race car. Even if I lost 150 pounds, it's not happening.
I mean, maybe you could just start your own. Yeah, like there's always a balance between that stuff. Like, chase your dreams, but you got to they got to be at least in this universe.
I mean,
you got to have the right dreams to chase.
And the other thing that I'll say, and this is probably the most sappiest one, is love the people who love you, friends, family.
Aww.
Just it's okay to love and hug and be emotional. Exactly, and be emotional. It's okay. Something that I didn't understand until probably 10 years ago. Like, it's okay to be all of those things and do all of those things.
Oh, yeah, I agree. My honorable mention is, like, you never know what words of encouragement will mean to somebody.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I basically went into news because some random person one time said, hey, maybe you should do that. Like, I don't think you ever know. I think if you take time to encourage someone or tell somebody that they're doing a good job, I don't think people realize the full effect that can have on people. I think that can be a very powerful thing. Just be like, hey, that was good. Like, thanks for doing that. You should try this. I don't think people get pointed in the right direction very much. We're always told what not to do, but not really encouraged on what things that we should do.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more.
I also got what you do today determines the person that you are 6 months from now. Like, you're never going to see the results of the work that you put in that day. It's always like 3 to 6 months later that then you kind of reap the rewards. So you always have to be the work you do today determines the person you are tomorrow.
That's a good one. I mean, I think that is kind of situation specific, but I don't disagree with it.
Yeah, my last one is we're all in this together. Like, everybody's just trying to get through this, man. Like, we're all just trying to get through this, and everybody's doing the best that they can. We're all in this together at the end of it.
If everyone would just stop, think, and realize that, maybe there'd be some peace, but people don't want to think about that sometimes. But yes, we are all in this together.
And smoke them if you got them.